I'm Erin Moure, and I'm the author of Pillage Laud, apparently. My book is a pillaging and a praising. That's why it's called Pillage Laud. And it selects from pages of computer-generated sentences to create lesbian love poems, or sex poems, depending on what point you are at in the narrative. Well, actually, I don't believe in inspiration. And I wrote it because I didn't have any inspiration. I was just looking at this program, MacProse, that generates, like a computer program that randomly generates sentences. And I wondered what would happen if you used, instead of using words as the unit of composition, if you used sentences. So just as every word comes from the dictionary, it's not new, I was going to use sentences that were generated already and see what arose and see if you could make poems in a book. And I was doing this in 1997. Well, things like that existed, those types of programs, and I just wanted to play with it a little bit. The sentences actually intrigued me, the rhythms of them, the kind of limited structure but the sentences that the program generated, to me, were emotionally compelling. So I wanted to play with that. Okay, well, I guess it was back in 97 or 98, and 98 when I was writing it, and I played with this program MacProse for a while before I figured out a modus operandi. And that was that I would generate up to 3, you could either generate one sentence or you could generate interminable sentences until you pressed the trackpad button. So I would generate just 3 pages. Interminable sentences was too many. I decided to generate 3 pages, although it went very fast. Sometimes I'd end up with 2.5 pages, sometimes 3.25. And then I would print them, and I would just read them, and I would underline or highlight the phrases that appealed to me. So actually, the process at that point is a performative process. I have a text, it's passing through my human apparatus, and I'm performing a gesture. I'm doing a gesture, making a gesture. That's performance, but it's just for me. So I highlighted the phrases that interested me. Then I would go back to the beginning, and I would go through and order the phrases and construct a poem. Some of the phrases I underlined I would not use in the end. Sometimes I would take the beginning of one phrase and the end of another phrase, but I would always go, the order in which I used the phrases was the order in which they were generated. I think I called the first one Oakland. I don't know, I'd always wanted to call something Oakland, so I thought, why not this? I'll call it Oakland. And then I started to realize that it was sort of places named after suburbs or neighborhoods. So until we get towards the middle of the book, well, there's one chapter that's named Rochelle Julienne, which is the name of the building I live in. There's one that's named Glorieta de Bilbao, which is an intersection in Madrid. I always loved the name of that intersection, the Glorieta de Bilbao. So I put it in there. There's one that's named after Anaximenes, a pre-Socratic philosopher. That's the last section. I figure we should just end in philosophy. And the section before that, the Frau Moro Hills, sounds like a suburb, but it's actually a area on the dark side of the moon. Well, the ideal reader for this book, I would say, is anybody who hates cliches. Because there are no cliches in the book, guaranteed. And that's partly because to have cliches you need culture. And MacProse is a computer program. It has no culture. So it is incapable of generating a cliche. There's still somebody making a decision about the book. There's somebody made a decision about the structure. There's somebody made a decision about when to start. There's somebody made a decision about when to stop. And all those are creative acts. Reading itself is a creative act. And so that you can't, it's just there's different methods of composition. And that, yes, you can compose something that nobody wants to read or that is unreadable or that once you get the construct, then you don't need to read the rest of the book. The last 4 or 5 pages of the book are unadulterated sentences from MacProse, and there's just one phrase underlined in it.